Greetings of peace, people. This is yours truly, Bionic Anseng, Francis Coleman, and today I am going to give to you a tier list of the villains that I've encountered during my gameplay. In my gameplay as a trophy hunter and as a casual gamer throughout the years as a gamer for the PlayStation. Okay, as you know, I've been playing the PlayStation for about 24 years now, starting from the PlayStation 1 up to the present PlayStation 4 Pro, and hopefully within this year I can get hold of the PlayStation 5, the so-called booster of loading times. Alright, so I have with me here, I believe that's 32 villains that I've encountered throughout my gaming career. And I'm going to judge these villains based on the times confronted, the success of the villain's actions, the motivation of the villain, and ultimately how I felt as a gamer when these villains, did their antics. So in this category, S will be the highest and D will be the lowest. Okay, let's start with the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim main antagonist, the main villain, Alduin. Alduin is a good villain. He did save the Dragonborn from beheading, but he wreaked havoc in the province of Skyrim by reincarnating, reviving those fallen dragons who wreak havoc in Skyrim, killing people randomly and killing some cattle randomly, and also attacking the Dragonborn. So for the times confronted, I think the only time I confronted Alduin was 3 times. One during the first mission, the other in the throat of the world with party snacks or partonax, and in Sovereign Gardes. So with regard his success in creating havoc in the province of Skyrim, I think Alduin was pretty successful because he even led a stop to the civil war that's happening in the Skyrim between Stormcloaks and the Imperials. See if we have this option to stop the civil war in order not to empower Alduin. So Alduin was the main reason for the temporary stop of the civil war. How I felt as a gamer, you see, I feel that those dragons were nasty during my first few hours of gameplay in Skyrim. Every time they tried to attack me, I felt goosebumps, I felt scared. But when the time came that I became level 35 or higher, they were just walking the park. Until I got to level 50, I started to confront some elder dragons and ancient dragons, and that really, those dragons were hard to beat. So as to being overall badass villain, Alduin was pretty easy when confronted in Sovereign Gardes. So I'm gonna put Alduin as an A tier for A tier villain. Okay. Next is Final Fantasy XV's main villain, Ardyn. I'm not gonna hold back my words here. I really don't know Ardyn that much, and that's the reason why I hold Final Fantasy 15 in the lowest regards. Don't get me wrong, it got me entertained with the open world, but the story, I don't even know the motivations of Ardyn, and I don't even know what was the adventure of Noctis all about. Of course, I watched the movie Kingslave. Insomnia was destroyed by Ardyn and the forces from the other country, but still, the motivations was not really properly laid out. So I'm gonna put Ardin to as a tier D villain, just because I really don't know him and I don't know what he's fighting for. Of course, there's the DLC, but I still haven't played it, and you can't blame me for not playing the DLC. Okay, so next is Barton Delay's Final Fantasy 13. Now, this is a good villain. His motivations are already properly laid out. He's Barton Delay, and he's also referred to as Garen Dicely, the Primarch of Cocoon. Being the Primarch of Cocoon, he's basically the Pope, slaying all the laws. He's the leader of Cocoon. So his primary motivation was to cause the fall of Cocoon by ultimately killing Orphan, and he used the 6 characters to do his bidding. So Garen Dicely was a very difficult boss in chapter 9 and in chapter 11. So, and also he was somewhat successful because Orphan did die in Final Fantasy 13, which caused the Cocoon to fall. And if it wasn't from the heroism of Vanilla and Fang, Cocoon and the billions of people residing in it would have died. So since this villain was properly introduced and his motivation was properly laid out, I can put Barton Delay to a tier S villain. Next is the Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns main villain, Bunivelse. He is the god of gods in the Final Fantasy 13 lore. However, I'm gonna put him only on the C tier list because he was only confronted at the last stages of Lightning Returns. Of course, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that Hope was in Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns. Hope was Bunivelse, and he was the one talking to Lightning. But even that, he was assisting Lightning in her quest. So you really can't consider Bunivelse at the time as the main villain, as he was helping Lightning with her quest. So he is a decent boss, but since he was not really that villain that was properly laid out by the game, he was just stated as the ultimate god and the ultimate boss in the Final Fantasy 13 lore, but his exposure was not enough to make him in the higher list, so I'm gonna put him in tier C. Okay, next is Caius Balad, Final Fantasy 13-2. Now, this guy, really, this is what a villain should be. I think at some awards, he was named as the best villain of that year, and I agree. Caius Balad has been confrontational in almost all the stages in the Final Fantasy 13-2. And of course, he may well be the most successful villain because what happened in the end of Lightning Returns, he already known that would have happened, and Lightning, Sarah, and Noel could not stop it. So his motivation is also great, as he was tasked to protecting Yule, but he was still a thorn in the side for Sarah and Noel Grice. And now, as a gamer, I felt that, oh wow, this guy has been giving me a lot of trouble throughout the game, and he was not an easy opponent, especially if you're going to complete the different endings, the one where you'll control Sarah alone, and you will have to fight Caius one-on-one. Oh, that's I think that is the most difficult part of the game when you're completing the trophies, when you're completing this set of crystals, that you have to beat Caius one-on-one as Sarah. And for that, I'm going to put Caius Balad on top of this villain tier list as tier S. Now we go to Devin Weston. This guy, the billionaire in Grand Theft Auto 5. Such a refreshing take as a villain. You know, he's not really part of a crime family. He's just that rich. A billionaire who's also a stakeholder of Merryweather. And at some point, he was also a stakeholder in the movies. So Devin Weston was a powerful man in Los Santos, and it was unfortunate that Michael had to, accidentally killed his secretary in an accident. So Devin Weston made life miserable for Michael, almost killing his family in his house, and of course causing Franklin to kill Michael depends on your choice. So Devin Weston is a good villain who, by the way, tricked Franklin and Trevor with those car heists. I'm gonna put Devin Weston to a tier B villain. Now, Dmitry Raskalov, Grand Theft Auto 4. This guy, really, he pissed me off when he betrayed Niko Bellic. And he made life miserable for Niko Bellic, and depending on your choice, it's either Roman Bellic will be killed or the sister of Paki McCreary. So this guy really has been a pain in the neck, and I thought he was just a friend of Niko Bellic, the one who's decent enough, who's guiding Niko at the first stages of the game. But in the end, he really is the primary antagonist of this game, and I'm gonna put him on a tier B because the emotions that I have with him is much stronger than Devin Weston. Although Devin Weston is more powerful, so they're at the same level. Okay, Dr. Octopus, I'm gonna put him to tier D because, come on, in the Spider-Man PS4 game, Dr. Octopus became the villain at about the 85% of the game. So it's not really that long to be exposed as the villain. But no. I think I'm gonna put him to C just because he caused the death of Aunt May, because he unleashed the virus to Manhattan. So okay, Dr. Octopus is a C tier. Edgar Ross, Red Dead Redemption 2. Oh, this guy is I really hate this guy because John Marston, Abigail Marston, Jack Marston, and Uncle was already living the peaceful life in Pictures Hope, the ranch of John Marston. And during the end credits of Red Dead Redemption 1, after the epilogue, we've seen Edgar Ross locate the body of Mica Bell and all the way back to John Marston in Pictures Hope, and to the events of Red Dead Redemption 1. Edgar Ross put John Marston to do his bidding, killing or capturing Bill Williamson and Javier Escuela, and ultimately causing the demise of Dutch van der Linde. And the worst part is he went back on his word to John Marston and killed John Marston at the end of the Red Dead Redemption. How I felt as a gamer, let me just say this. It really felt good when Jack Marston got his revenge in Edgar Ross. So I'm gonna put Edgar Ross in the tier A/B lane because of the impact that he made during the course of the games and during the course of the life of John Marston. Next on our list, Gisele, Godwin, Soykoden 5. You know, the B lanes usually in Japanese role-playing games are those with brute force and strong magics. Yeah, but Gisele Godwin was unlike those villains because Gisele Godwin fought the Prince of Palina with his wits and his intelligence. Gisele Godwin successfully led the coup d'etat of the Godwin faction, which led to Queen Arstad's death and Ferid. And they had, I don't know the official timeline, but I think the civil war lasted for 3 years, so they may have the power in the Kingdom of Palina during those 3 years. So it's not an easy task considering the power of the prince and followers, but he did successfully grab power, and because he used his wits and not some strong muscles or great magics, I'm gonna put Gisele Godwin in the tier A. Yes, because of his success. And of course, how I felt as a gamer, I was on the edge even in the end of the game because Gisele was so intelligent. I didn't know if he had something on his sleeve. Okay, so he deserves to be an A tier. Graham Gray, so Soykoden 4. Graham Gray, I felt, is a very good villain, but he really was not exposed too much in Soykoden 4. And I think that was a mistake on the part of the developers of Soykoden 4. I believe that the team up of the Great Trading Company with the Kuluk forces was not really emphasized too much. Of course, the Kuluk was able to subjugate the islands, but Graham Gray should have, fought the sea battles together with Troy in order for him to be considered in a higher list. But the first time and the last time that the hero confronted Graham Gray was towards the end of the game at Fort El Il. So he's a good villain, and he wreaked some havoc when he used the statue with the power rune to obliterate Iluya Islands. But that is not enough for him to be on a higher ranking, so I'm gonna put Graham Gray to a C tier villain. Hammerhead, Spider-Man PS4 game. So Hammerhead, I'm gonna put him to tier B because I think he was a better villain than Dr. Octopus, and the downloadable content, The City That Never Sleeps, really revolved around him. Of course, the first part was all about Black Cat, but towards the end of that first DLC, we saw Hammerhead, and Hammerhead was the main team in the second and third, and he was a hard, difficult boss with his thugs, a group of thugs obtaining the Silver Sable technology. They were very, very difficult to clear. And of course, the final battle against him, the pair of Silver Sable and Spider-Man with Hammerhead, I just barely beated him. So I'm gonna put Hammerhead, I think, in the tier B. Am I correct? Tier B. He's tier B. Now, the next is Iskas Soykoden Tactics. Iskas is a merchant, a businessman. During the first part of the game, I didn't know that he would turn out to be the main villain of Soykoden 4 Tactics, because I said Soykoden 4 because Tactics, the events in Soykoden Tactics involves the events prior to Soykoden 4 and after Soykoden 4. So it's related in Soykoden 4, and Iskas is a decent villain, and I'm gonna put him as an A tier because he did cause the fall of the Empire of Kuluk. This guy right here single-handedly caused the demise of the Empire of Kuluk when he and his weapon, the Evil Eye, which is a rune cannon, caused the Emperor of Kuluk and the successor, the Key, to be a weapon, and leaving us here this little I think it's Corsilia, that little princess as the heir of Empire of Kuluk. But I believe the capital, the castle of the Empire of Kuluk was obliterated. So at the end of the game, and spoiler alert for those who have not played this game, it's a good game, mind you. Some of the territories of the Empire of Kuluk were annexed by the Scarlet Moon Empire, and the others became a independent town. So for causing the demise of the Kuluk Empire, the main antagonist in Soykoden 4, I'm gonna put Iskas to tier A. Next is Lloyd, Legend of Dragoon. Now, for some of you who have played Legend of Dragoon, we all know that Lloyd turned from enemy to well, not necessarily a good guy, more like fought together with Dart towards the end of the game. But I still considered him an enemy because he killed Labitz, and that pissed me off during the disc 1 of Legend of Dragoon. After he killed Labitz, it was personal, and I was chasing him in disc 2, and his antics in the, I think, the kingdoms involved in this 2 of Legend of Dragoon, his antics was great as a villain, but it really, let my blood boil to the point of, oh my god, I can't stand this guy, I really want to fight this guy. And when I fought him, it really gave me satisfaction to beat him. So for killing Labitz and for doing those conspiracies in these 2 of Legend of Dragoon, I'm gonna put Lloyd at tier A. Yes, because of the hate that I felt for what he did to Labitz. Next is Soykoden 3 Luke. Oh my goodness. Talk about a villain that I really did not enjoy fighting. Luke was a recurring character. He was an original character, the first Soykoden and the Soykoden 2. I really didn't care much about him in Soykoden 1 because I believe his wind rune at that time could not really be of help, and because of his health powers, he can be defeated easily without if I do not equip him the best equipment. So during my first gameplay of Soykoden 1, I did not play him, and I did not use him at all. But in Soykoden 2, oh my goodness, he was the go-to guy when it comes to magic, even though I recruited some of the best magicians toward the end of the game, like Mazus and Tyr Makdol. I still put Luke as a go-to guy. As a matter of fact, he is, for the 24th time that I finished Soykoden 2, Luke was always on the final party that defeated the three-headed rune. So when I saw him as the main villain in Soykoden 3, I mean, okay, what happened to him? What was his motivation? He's been well, not necessarily the good guy in the first two Soykoden games. He can be, uh, a punk sometimes, but he did not show any evil intention on those first two games. So when I learned about his motivation, and that's the future of those true rune bearers, and what his actions in trying to put the Holy Kingdom of Harmonia, the Sexan Confederacy, and the Grasslanders on a collision course, okay, and the ritual in which he will combine the powers of the elemental rules to destroy the whole world, I believe Luke deserves to be in the S tier, just because of the overall history of Luke, and how I felt as a gamer that, okay, I was really sad that he was the main villain. And the final fight in Soykoden 3 was a very difficult one. If you don't prioritize your target, he will make short work of you. So I will admit that I've even used a strategy guide just to figure out, hey, how do I defeat this boss? He kind of feels unbeatable. Okay, so Luke is an S tier villain. Next is Luca Blight. Okay, what cannot be said about this guy? This is the epitome of a sick man. Luca Blight, massacred the citizens of Toto and Ryubi village. He even burned the mercenary fortress. And of course, ultimately, he sacrificed the souls of the citizens of Muse to create the three-headed wolf rune. So, he's a bloodlust monster. And had he succeeded in subjugating the city-state of Joeston, I truly believe that he would have gone further south to the Toran Republic. That's why President Lipan sent 5,000 soldiers to the city-state of Joeston to help them. Okay? So, it took hundreds to kill Luca Blight, but he killed by the thousand. That is his quote. And being the sick guy, okay, we all know that Final Fantasy series has the Sephiroth. Luca Blight is the Sephiroth of the Soykoden series. I believe most of the Soykoden fans will acknowledge it. So, for being who he is, Luca Blight is an S tier villain. Okay, next is Marskal Godwin Soykoden 5. Okay, so Marskal Godwin, he's part of the coup d'etat which took place in the Sun Palace, and we ultimately led to the death of Arshtat and Period. But I feel that he was not really his involvement was not really documented in the Soykoden 5 game. It was always Gisele who has been plotting, who has been strategizing how to beat the prince. And Marskal Godwin has all the activity of Marskal Godwin was limited to his study of the Sun Rune, and which ultimately led to him being the final boss. But even though he's the final boss, during the course of the game, I really did not felt the presence of Marskal Godwin that much. So I'm gonna put Marskal Godwin to a tier C villain. Next is Mica Bell, Red Dead Redemption 2. Okay, this guy has been named as the main villain of the game towards the end of the game. We all know that the Pinkertons was the main villain during most of the game, until the leader of the Pinkerton Detective Agency revealed that when Dutch and the others, Arthur Morgan and Mica Bell, went back from I think that's Guarma, Mica Bell was the informant of the Dutch van der Linde. He betrayed the Dutch van der Linde group, which ultimately led to the death of the I think the lover of Dutch van der Linde, and also causing the band to fall apart. And he also killed Arthur Morgan, depending on the endings that you chose. So I'm gonna put Mica Bell to tier C because again, he was only made the villain towards the end of the game, so he was mostly on Arthur Morgan's and Dutch van der Linde sides, I think towards the 98% of the game, of the base game, and not involving the epilogue. And it only involved, I think, 2 missions left or 1 mission left when Mica Bell was revealed to be the main villain. So tier C is a good enough for Mica Bell. Next is Orochi. Warriors Orochi 1, 2, 3. Okay, this guy, really. In a sense, Orochi saved my career as a PlayStation gamer, because back then in 2011 or 2010 and 2011, I had no more games to play because usually I played Soykoden, Final Fantasy, and other Grand Theft Auto games. But when I no longer had any game, my friend, special shout out to a friend, Rodelio Cañada, gave me a game, Warriors Orochi, and I played it. It involves the game, the warriors from Samurai Warriors, and the warriors from Dynasty Warriors, Ancient China, Samurai Warriors, the feuding states of Japan. And they were sent to a other world, and Orochi was the main villain there. During the first game, how I felt as I played that game, Orochi was very difficult to beat. Really, it took me a lot of tries to beat him because he do have some good followers like Lubu, and I think some other the Date, Masamune Date, and the other characters from both the Samurai and Dynasty Warriors who supported him. So I'm gonna put Orochi to tier A because he did reincarnated a lot during the first on the second game and the third game. Of course, in Warriors Orochi 2 we have the Orochi campaign where we saw and we played Orochi, and we had the first hand experience of what Orochi did to subjugate the warriors of the Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors. So he's very powerful, so he deserves to be an A tier villain. Next is Sephiroth. We all know Sephiroth. He's an S tier. How I felt when I played the original Final Fantasy game, I was frightened of Sephiroth in what he did to that snake, the one who's chasing Cloud. That's why we needed a chocobo to get rid of to just move from that part. And when we got to the cave, we saw that the large serpent was killed by Sephiroth. I was frightened because of that. But then when he killed Aerith, that became personal for me, and I was hoping that I get the chance to destroy Sephiroth. That's why from that moment on, I went to this South Island, I think southeast turn portion of the map, and then I leveled up there, to the point where I was over leveled to the other parts of the game. And ultimately, Cloud, Barret, and Sid Highwind were level 100 for me. And I defeated Sephiroth, but just barely, but I still defeated him. So Sephiroth is an S tier because he caused the meteor to fall down, almost causing the extinction in the world in Final Fantasy VII. And of course, the fact that he killed Aerith, he deserves to be an S tier villain. Next is Seymour Guado, Final Fantasy X. Okay, now Seymour Guado, he's like Caius Balad. We confronted him many times in Macalania Temple the first time, outside Bebel, in Mount Gagaset, where I think that's the most difficult confrontation, is Mount Gagaset, its most difficult form, and inside Sin. And Tidus, or Tidus for some other pronunciation, told Seymour that he knew he was a bad news the first time he saw it. And Seymour Guado will give you that vibe. From the time he went down from the docks of Luca, you all know, oh, this guy is the villain. You just know that he is plain evil. And he kissed Yuna. That's why I'm pissed. So, his motivation was, well detailed in the game. He wanted to be one with Sin and get rid Spira of the pain by erasing Spira off the map. That's his motivation. And because of his sickness, I put Seymour Guado as an S tier villain. Next is Shuyan, Final Fantasy X-2. Okay, Shuyan is an emo type of a guy who seek revenge for his death and the death of his girlfriend Len. But who is he trying to, to pay back for? Those who killed him has already passed away. I think the fact that he was killed was about 1,000 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. So he is seeking revenge to the present people of Spira by using Vegnagun. And I think Shuyan was actively part of the game by being inside of Maven Nuge. And he caused quite a stir when he was collecting the spears. So I guess Shuyan, because of his actions and his motivation to use Vegnagun, but of course he did not succeed. Yuna, Pain, and Riku stopped him. 3 women stopped him. So I'm gonna put Shuyan to a tier C, because I don't believe that he is a villain, because when Len saw his spirit, he was completely pacified. So Shuyan is a C tier villain. The next is Sin. Well, of course it's Yu Yebon, but Yu Yebon is still just in the last part of the game. I'm talking about those villains which I really interacted during the whole game. I'm judging the villains who wreak havoc the whole game, or the most important parts of the game. And Sin has wreaked havoc in Kilika, in the Mian High Road, the Operation Mayhem. Oh my goodness, what a massacre. And of course, during the final fight. So Sin, being a nasty Godzilla-like monster, is a new concept in Final Fantasy. I never thought that Final Fantasy will create this kind of monster, and I think they pulled it off, because I believe Final Fantasy X is still the best story in the Final Fantasy history. It's debatable, but that's for me. Okay, so I'm gonna put Sin on the A tier because he's not really the one who's to be blamed for all of this is Yu Yebon. But the distraction that he caused. Oh wait. I think he should be in S tier because Sin has been terrorizing Spira for the last 1,000 years. So I believe he is an S tier. He deserves to be an S tier. Okay? Next is Steve Haynes, Grand Theft Auto 5. You know, when the mission where Trevor handled Steve Haynes, you know, I really was happy because Steve Haynes really I don't know, there's something about Steve Haynes that really I dislike him because he is a fake national, he has a fake nationalism. He's willing to create some kind of terror in the streets, and he's the one who's saying that he's going to prevent the terror in the streets. But you know, his antics in the game, especially the torture, you know, he's those are conduct unbecoming of a police officer. So Michael was really pissed off at him. You know how I felt when I was playing GTA 5 and I have to deal with Steve Haynes. Let me just say that I was really glad when Trevor handled him the way that he handled him at the Ferris wheel. So Steve Haynes, I think, is a tier B villain because he did cause a lot of misery to Michael, and I think Franklin and Trevor too. So he's aligned with Dmitry Raskalov and Devin Weston. Next is Vayne Solidor, Final Fantasy 12. You know, the only thing that made Vayne Solidor a villain was that he was the final boss. But really, during the game, he was just presented as a very good mayor for Rabanastre, and he was just a soldier of the Empire of Arcadia. So again, this game with regard to stories is not really that good, but adventure wise, Final Fantasy 12 was great. But you know, the villains, the motivation of these villains, like, you know, just trying to get the neticites from the Kingdom of Dalmasca. Well, and how I felt as a gamer, and that when I fought Vayne Solidor, alright, that's it. I was overpowered because I really tried to go for the quest, the hunt first, so Vayne Solidor was easy for me. So I'm gonna put Vayne Solidor on tier D because he's just like Ardyn. He was not presented well as a villain. That is my humble opinion. The next is the Warriors Orochi 3, the 8-headed Hydra. Okay, I'm gonna put this on tier D because you know, they're just Hydra, they're just monsters. They don't have any motivation but to wreak havoc. So it took time travel mechanism to finally beat them. But you know, other than that, they were a very nasty villain to deal with. So I'm still gonna put them in the tier list D. And last but not the least, Windy of Soykoden 1. Windy was all over the place in Soykoden 1 because of her obsession to the True Rune, the Soul Eater. He caused the destruction of the village of the elves. He even caused Wanda Rosman and Milich Oppenheimer, 2 of the 6 generals of the Scarlet Moon Empire, to go berserk because of the Black Rune. All because he wanted to obtain that true rune, the Soul Eater. So, I don't know, she may have caused Emperor Barbarossa to change, but even during the game, I really did not see any evilness from Barbarossa. Even Patch, before Black died, said that, you know, the stories about the Emperor is not just true, considering that I saw him. And, you know, the gist of it is Patch thinks Barbarossa was cool, and Barbarossa said, it's probably Windy again. So Windy was the main villain of Soykoden 1. So, considering that her antics really destroyed the Scarlet Moon Empire, and she was all over the rune, I'm gonna put Windy on tier A. Because, you know, we did not really fought her. We fought Barbarossa's, I think, deity rune at the end. So Windy was just the villain who was all over the main story, but she was not really the one that we fought. Okay, so I'm gonna put Windy to a tier A. Okay, so peeps, those are my 32. I'll just check it whether it's 32. Oh, it's 27. Sorry. 27 villains that I have fought as my career as a PlayStation gamer. Now, I'm encouraging you to comment on this tier list and to comment your own tier list of the villains that you have fought as a gamer. Okay? And if you like this content, this upload, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, Bionic Anseng, and hit that notification bell so you will be updated to my latest uploads, live streaming, reaction videos, game analysis, and uploads of the game that I'm using for trophy hunting. Okay, thank you everyone, God bless, and stay safe out there.